You, me, and life. Let us together make this world a better place to live.
Thank you, Ashwin, and welcome all. Today's takeaways, the essence of the discussion, what we are going to have today, is related to Vedant, Karma Yoga, emotional intelligence, and life based on values vis-a-vis goals. And also, we are going to talk about the knowledge community, what Master My Life has. So, I'm just making everyone mute. Thank you. So, let us start with Vedant, and let me ask you one question to see your current understanding on Vedant or Vedanta. So just click options, what you think are right. You can choose multiple options. In now all the questions what I am going to present now on, you can choose multiple options because they are knowledge based, right? So just to check your current understanding, and then of course we are going to discuss the essence of each topic. See, the today's webinar is very different. Generally these kind of webinars do not get conducted in India. So this is a very broad topic of life wisdom, right? So we are going to talk about many say fundamental topics of life, because whatever we are doing, whether we are doing a business or job, right? So ultimately everything is for betterment of our life. We want to be successful, we want to be happy, and there are few principles, right? There are few principles which are enabling us to be happy and successful in life, because the job and business are the part of life, so they are not life. Life is much bigger. Life encompasses your personal, professional, and spiritual life. So the today's session is all the essence of life. So I'm going to wait for another 5 seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead, because we have to complete the webinar in 75 to 80 minutes. So to manage the time, I can't give a lot of time for the polling. So last 3 seconds for you to click your options. Thank you. And I'm sharing the results with you. 50% of you are thinking it means Indian religion's 4 Vedas in its entirety. Unfortunately, this is the wrong option. 38% of you think that it means a person with great amount of Vedic knowledge. That is also untrue as far as Vedanta is concerned. But 31% of you have understood or guessed it rightly, that Vedanta is the end of the Vedas, referred to as Upanishads. And the 13% of you were thinking that it is a famous company or corporate, but we are not talking about that particular Mr. Agarwal's, Anil Agarwal's company called as Vedanta. We are today talking about life, and we are talking about Vedanta, right? So no problem. So we are going to understand this particular concept in gist, if not in great details today, right? So what I'm going to do, each concept, I'm going to ask you your current understanding. I'm going to show you one essence video, the video which will elaborate on that particular concept in a very short period of time. And after the video, then we are going to have a question and answer session. So this is the format of today's session, and we are going to talk about 4 major life concepts today. And this is the first concept called as Vedant. And now please watch this video.
The word Vedanta itself means the end of knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. The word Veda means knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and Vedas are the scriptures of the Hindus. They are the most ancient scriptures in existence now, and Vedanta is the spiritual philosophy which is based on the Vedas. Part of the Vedas are what we call the Upanishads, philosophical texts. And the definition of Vedanta is the knowledge that we get from the Upanishads. In Sanskrit we say Vedanta Nama Upanishad Pramanam. Vedanta is the spiritual knowledge we get from the Upanishads. So what does Vedanta tell us? What is special about Vedanta? Vedanta tells us that we really do not know who we are. What we think about ourselves as limited individual human beings, born and fated to die, living short lives, this is just on the surface. The reality is that we are spiritual beings, immortal, pure consciousness. This is something that we are not normally aware of. And Vedanta aims to show us how we can become aware of our spiritual heritage. There are these Upanishads which in various ways tell us this, that we are not bodies, we are not even minds. Minds and bodies are like sheaths, like coverings on our true nature, which is pure consciousness. And Vedanta tells us how we can realize this pure consciousness. Now, Vedanta is the core of religion. It is the core of Hinduism, but we also hold that it is the core of every religion. Every religion promises that there is something transcendental in human nature, something that exists before our birth, it exists now, and exists after our death too. So how do we get access to this transcendental nature of ours? That's what Vedanta tells us. And it tells us that there are various ways in which we can realize this spiritual nature. We can do it through knowledge. There are methods of philosophical inquiry which Vedanta shows us, by which we can realize and understand our spiritual nature. We can do it through meditation. There are many sophisticated meditation techniques through which we can get an experience, a mystic experience of our true nature. We can do it through devotion, by worshipping God through love. And we can do it through selfless service. So these are the royal pathways to realize our spiritual nature, the paths of knowledge, jnana, the path of meditation, Raja Yoga, the path of love and devotion, Bhakti Yoga, and the path of selfless service, Karma Yoga. So these are some of the ways in Vedanta claims that we can realize our true divine nature.
So, any questions? Either you can put it in the chat box, or if someone wants to directly interact, that is also all right. But the chat box is preferred just for the time management, so that I can take few questions and then I can respond few questions together. So I'm waiting for next few seconds on your questions on chat box before going ahead. And why we are starting with the Vedanta, few of you might be thinking that is why we are starting this particular session with Vedanta, because Vedanta is ultimate knowledge. Vedanta is end of knowledge. So Vedanta covers all the knowledge and the wisdom about life, material life, spiritual life, business, right? So Arthashastra, that is finance, everything is covered in Vedanta, right? So once you start with Vedanta, you understand the other concepts much better. So I don't think there is any question in the chat box. Okay, so why India is not using it? It is not that we are not using it per se, because it is the India who has basically created this particular wisdom of Vedas and Upanishad. So in some part, and there are some gurus in India still who practice, who teach, right, a wisdom based on Vedanta. But yes, at a common level, still unfortunately, this has not penetrated. That is unfortunate part. That is in our normal education system, we need to integrate it so that from the school level, we develop our mindset for life and not necessarily only for the business or only for job, because business and job are part of life. So we need to develop our mentality for the life, and Vedanta does this beautifully, and it has been created by us only. But So now step by step means Master My Life has started integrating Vedant in the higher education, and step by step it will go to the school level as well. What type of yoga is important? All yogas are important, but depending upon your DNA, depending upon your personality or your characteristics, you choose your path. For example, if you are knowledge based, or you are Pandit, or you basically study Vedas in depth, then you can go for Jnana Yoga, right? So through knowledge, right? So you will achieve you will realize your ultimate potential. If you are a yogi, right? If you do intense meditation, then you can realize your ultimate potential by Raja Yoga, right? If you are a devotee, you will do the same thing with the Bhakti Yoga. And if you are a person who is living a materialistic life and who is working, then you realize your potential by Karma Yoga. And since most of us, right, are neither neither Prakand Pandits nor say yogis, and most of us are even not 100% devotees, right? So what is 100% devotee, right? Means, for example, Santa Tukaram, 100% devotee. Mirabai, 100% devotee. So we are not into that Bhakti Yoga as well. So the Karma Yoga seems to be comparatively nearer to us, right? Again, it is also very difficult to follow Karma Yoga, but for a working person, for a businessman, for a corporate professional, or for a family man, Karma Yoga is possible. And this is what now we are going to see in our next session. What is Karma Yoga? And again, a small question before we begin to understand Karma Yoga. What is your current understanding on the Karma Yoga? And there are multiple options. You can choose multiple options based on your current understanding. So please vote in less than 1 minute time. Why? Because of the time management. Because if you take too much time, then we have to extend the webinar duration. Last 5 seconds to respond. After 3 seconds, I'm going to end the poll. Thank you. So I will go for the last option, which has the highest percentage, 45%. 45% of you think that Karma Yoga is yogic spiritual knowledge acquired through meditation. Unfortunately, it is not, because in Vedant video, we already seen that there are 4 royal pathways. The first pathway is a Jnana Yoga. The second pathway, that is a meditation, is Raja Yoga. The third pathway is Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion. And Karma Yoga is a path of selfless service, like we already seen in the video of the Vedant. So through meditation means it is called as Raja Yoga and not Karma Yoga. But 45% of you have got it right. Karma Yoga does mean focusing on the process wherein result is the byproduct, right? Like Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, that is, you do your work. Do not think about the result or the fruit of your work. So the focusing on your dharma. Dharma means not religion. Dharma means your duty. So the focusing on your duty is what Karma Yoga is about. Of course, Karma Yoga, like already we have seen in the Vedant video, Karma Yoga is about selfless service. That is unselfish action. right? So yes, this option is right. But karma yoga is not about cause and effect. Law of karma is about cause and effect, right? Not karma yoga. So if you have any question after the video, if you have any confusion between the law of karma, karma yoga and all that, I will address it during the question and answer session. Of course, karma yoga is not about action yoga in the form of asanas. Karma yoga is different. And what is that karma yoga? Let us see in this small video. And then I will take question and answers.
A long time ago, a sannyasi went to a forest. There he meditated, worshipped, and practiced Hatha Yoga for a long time. After years of hard work and practice, one day he was sitting under a tree when some dry leaves fell upon his head. He looked up and saw a crow and a crane fighting on the top of the tree, which made him very angry. He sharply glanced at them, and the birds burned to ashes. He was delighted with his own power, what he has gained with his meditation. He could burn down the crow and a crane with a mere glance. Sometime later, he went to the town for begging his alms. He went, stood by a hut, and said, "Mother, give me food." A lady's voice came from inside the house. "Wait, my son, I am busy." The young sannyasi thought, "How dare she makes me wait? She doesn't know my power set." Just then he heard the lady's voice telling him, "Boy, don't think too much of yourself. I am neither a crow nor a crane." He was shocked. Finally, the lady came out and he fell at her feet. The sannyasi said, "Mother, how did you know about the crow and the crane?" The lady said, "My boy, I do not know the powers and the practices of your yoga. I am a simple woman. I made you wait because my husband is ill and I was nursing him. All my life, I have focused only on my duty. But by doing my duty, I have become illumined. Thus, I could read your thoughts and know what you have done in the forest. If you want to know something higher than this, then go to the market in the next town and find the Vyadha the butcher. He will enlighten you further." The sannyasi went to the market in the next town and found an obese Vyadha chopping the meat. The young sannyasi was shocked again. He thought, "Oh Lord, help me. Is this the man from whom I am going to learn? This ugly butcher looks like the incarnation of a demon." In the meantime, the Vyadha looked up and said, "Oh Swami, did that noble lady send you here? Kindly give me a little time to finish my duties." After the Vyadha finished his work, he took the sannyasi to his home. He freshened up, fed his old parents, and came to the sannyasi and said, "Swamiji, you have come all the way here to see me. What can I do for you?" The sannyasi asked him questions about life, soul, and about God. And Vyadha gave him a detailed sermon which forms a part of the epic Mahabharata called the Vyadha Gita. It contains one of the highest flights of the Vedanta. When the Vyadha finished his teaching, the sannyasi felt mesmerized. He said, "With such divine knowledge, why are you doing such a filthy work of a butcher?" The Vyadha replied that no duty is filthy, no duty is impure. In this birth, I am placed in the circumstances that demand of me to do my duty as a Vyadha, and I try to do my duty to the best of my abilities without any attachment. I feel that this is the ultimate story that portrays Karma Yoga.
So let us see questions in chat box. I will wait for a few more seconds before going ahead. All right, so I'm not seeing any specific questions, so I'm going ahead. And now we will understand emotional intelligence, right? Because in a karma yoga, when you are doing your karma, your duty, your dharma, you should do it emotionally intelligently, because you can't hurt other people, right? So they means just you are following your duty, that does not give you right to hurt other human beings. So you need to club emotional intelligence in your karma. So what is emotional intelligence? And again, we will start with a small question. You can choose multiple options. Let us see your current understanding on emotional intelligence before proceeding. Again, the same structure. After this, there will be one small video. And after video, if you have any questions, I will take the questions. I will wait for another 5 seconds. Thank you. And I'm sharing the results. 60% of you have rightly understood emotional intelligence as self-awareness plus self-management plus social awareness plus social skills. So these are the 4 key capabilities or competencies of emotional intelligence as made popular by Daniel Goleman. You got it right. 50% of you also think that EI is about having an open and flexible outlook towards oneself, life, and other human beings. Perfect. 45% of you understand EI as being true to your emotions and being empathetic. Perfect. Most of you have got EI very, very right. Just 1 or 2 of you think that emotional intelligence is about being very emotional. It is not so. Emotional intelligence is not about only emotions or feelings or matters related to heart. Emotional intelligence is a combination of brain and heart, right? It is a combination of emotions, feelings, rational, conscious thought process, right? Right decision making. So it's a combination of everything. It is not only that being very emotional. Actually, if you are too emotional, you lack emotional intelligence, because managing your emotions is one of the foundations of emotional intelligence. Then one of you think that emotional intelligence is about live by what you think is right or wrong, right? Unfortunately, this is not the right approach, because whatever we think as right or wrong is our perception. That may not be the ultimate truth, because ultimate truth is unknown to every one of us, right? So we need not be very sure about this is the only right and this is the only wrong, right? So it is a matter of perception. So with this now, let us go ahead by and understand one important part of emotional intelligence, not entire emotional intelligence, but one foundational block of emotional intelligence in the next video.
What are emotions and how do they work? Emotions are often feared and avoided because they are so painful. So why focus on emotions? Because emotions give you important information and tell you whether things are going your way.
Emotions help you to survive by providing an efficient, automatic way of responding rapidly to important situations. Emotions help you to relate to other people and the expectations and demands of life. Emotions tell you what you need. When you know what you need, you can take action to meet those needs. Emotions also communicate what you feel. You learn your emotional reactions through experience. All your negative experiences can turn into a big, black, and scary feeling inside. You learned many of your emotional reactions long ago. Your black shadow will therefore sometimes resemble a person who hurt you in the past. But your emotional experience and reactions can always be changed or altered. First, you need to know something about what your emotions are. You have different basic emotions, some of which arouse you and some that calm you down. These are shame, fear, sadness, anger, disgust, happiness, and surprise or interest. You have more unpleasant emotions than pleasant ones. That means you often suffer quite a lot, but that's because the unpleasant emotions help you survive. Feelings also tend to be more unpleasant if you fight them. If you allow them to be there, they become less unpleasant. You can experience and express many different feelings, like feeling hopeless, irritated, anxious, excited, lonely, embarrassed, suspicious, content, and so on. These feelings all arise from your basic emotions. For instance, feeling suspicious springs from fear, and feeling lonely springs from sadness. And then it gets complicated. Emotions do not always provide you and your surroundings with good information. Sometimes you fake emotions to get what you want. At other times, you cover up your real emotions with other emotions. If you act like this, when you really feel like this, and your need is compassion and comfort, you will instead drive people away. If you or someone around you is supportive, patient, and curious enough to try to understand you, you might realize that you are sad and then get what you need to heal your painful emotion. At other times again, your real emotions are messed up and make a lot of trouble for you. If you were scared a lot when you were a child, you might grow up having a core feeling of being afraid. You might overprotect yourself so that no one can hurt you ever again. Everyone who was hurt badly as a child has a deep need to feel safe and a desire for someone to love them and connect with them, and heavy protection doesn't give you this. You can tell or show someone you trust that you are afraid. You can welcome the feeling of being afraid and listen to it, instead of ignoring it and covering it up. And the fear will then become more manageable. You can also change fear by means of self-compassion and assertive anger. You can stand up for yourself without driving people away. You can handle criticism, even if it hurts. You can take the chance and let people in, even if you're afraid of getting hurt again. You feel and function better when you're aware of and deal with your real emotions, even if they're painful. Your real emotions help you to get what you really need, both from yourself and others. You feel and function better when your real emotions are fresh and new, instead of stuck old feelings. You can trust your emotions if doing so gives you what you need. Stuck and misguiding emotions can change if you learn to attend to your emotions, are curious and patient with your own emotions, talk about and show your real emotions, learn to accept having different emotions, and change emotions with emotions. And all of this is easier to do with the empathy and support of another person.
Any questions in the chat box, please? I cover more of emotional intelligence in the Thursday's webinar as well. The Thursday webinar in a masterclass series is emotional intelligence and human relations. So the topic of webinar itself on Thursday is emotional intelligence, wherein I go into more depth of emotional intelligence. I will wait for a few more seconds. Sharing leads to dependency. How to overcome? Right. So Aditya, sharing doesn't lead to dependency. Human life is interdependent, right? So we are a social animal. We live in a society. So unless we have social skills, you can't live a happy life, right? Because our happiness gets influenced by people around us, right? Because we are emotional human beings, right? So uh, instead of dependency, the right word is interdependency, right? So definitely we need each other in our life, and there is nothing wrong in that. So Swati also says that, do we depend on someone else to manage our emotional intelligence? Okay. See, the emotional intelligence, as most of you have rightly uh, understood during the poll, is about you and others combined, right? So the you means it is self-awareness and self-management. And Swati, it is absolutely related to yourself only, because you need to first understand yourself, you need to manage yourself. But the life doesn't stop with yourself. Life is beyond you, right? Then you need to develop your empathy and the social awareness, and then you have to develop your social skills, right? So again, means do not go get the video is a metaphor, right? So the you need to understand the meaning from the video, right? So the video is not suggesting that you have to depend on someone lovable opposite sex person, right? The video is a metaphor, so they have shown this particular environment to illustrate the concept well to you, right? The other person can be opposite sex, other person can be your parents, other person can be your friend, right? So the any person can help you, right, in managing your emotions. Now, is the other person must? Answer is no. You are competent if you develop your emotional intelligence, and if you are 100% self-aware, right? And if you are in a position to manage your own emotions, it is possible that without help of other person, you can manage your emotions well. It is absolutely possible. But if there is someone who is helping you, the process can be shortened. The process will become a more pleasurable, because as a human being, we like love. As a human being, we like support, and there is no point in we denying those facts, right? So the love is a fact of life, right? A feeling of interdependency is a need of human being, right? So these are the right kind of emotions per se. So we need not shy away to get support. In fact, it is a smart of you. If you are really emotional intelligence, you will be successful in getting support and getting empathy from other human beings, right? So what if there are situations that remind you of the past and it makes it more difficult to overcome? Yes, of course. So there are many tools and techniques basically to manage this, right? So in NLP, there is a technique called as timeline method or therapy, wherein you go back to your past and you change the emotions associated with that factual or actual event, right? In psychotherapy, there is a therapy called as uh, past life regression. So there are many therapies wherein you can change the trauma, you can change the say uncomfortable past situations in your life. So the emotional intelligence is a science, right? It is directly related to your brain, right? So there are many tools and techniques wherein you can manage your past uh, emotions related to your past event. You cannot change the event, but you can change the emotions, your emotional memory associated with the past event. If we tell anyone related to emotional, they cannot understand. Sometimes it is not under control. We have also afraid that if we tell anyone related to emotional, they cannot understand. Sometimes it is not in our control. Okay. See, there is a method, right? So, Dr. Binita, what is the method? And that method you can really understand well if you study one of the self-awareness technique called as Zohari window. See, the why people do not understand you, because you have not disclosed your life goals, your principles, your likes and dislikes to the people. So generally we assume that people know, right? Generally we think that people should know automatically, but we do not know the process of self disclosure. So there is a process of self disclosure. Also, we do not have a 360-degree feedback from people, right? So we have some kind of say perceptions about ourselves, that we call it as a self awareness, but that is not the complete view about ourselves. So there is a process in Zohari window which teaches you, which coaches you on how to collect that particular 360-degree feedback from the variety of the segments of people in your life. And once you have a self-disclosure, after self-disclosure, when you get feedback from the people, they also understand you better during that particular process. So when afterwards you disclose them your emotions, they are in a much better position to understand you. But unfortunately, we do not follow these tools, techniques, and processes in our life. And that is one of the major reasons of we having a gap in understanding. People do not understanding our emotion, our feelings, and vice versa, right? So that is the reason why we have to learn emotional intelligence. Okay, so इमोशनल ज्यादा है तो कैसे करें? Okay, so if you wait beyond 7:15, I will take all the extra questions on the emotional intelligence, right? Because let us complete the crux of the webinar in time by 7:15, 7:20, and then if you stay back, then I will have a one-to-one discussion on anger management and the variety of the issues. I will have a one-to-one talk. Now, let us understand difference between a goal-based life and the value-based life, right? And what is the key to our happiness? So we are going to now see again a small video, and after the video I'm going to cover more topics before taking questions and answer. So this is the last topic of today, right? So we have seen Vedant, today we have understood, means we tried to understood Karma Yoga. So I'm not saying in today's webinar you will understand all the concepts in totality, right? But in today's webinar, you will start understanding the gist. And once you embark on the path of learning, definitely you will learn more about Vedanta, more about Karma Yoga, more about emotional intelligence. And now let us understand life based on values vis-a-vis life based on goals.
Society tells us the way to be happy is to achieve our goals. Get that great job, earn that money, get a good body, find a partner, have happy, healthy kids, have a big house, have a nice car, have holidays. Goal, 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 goal. And it's true that if you do actually manage to achieve these goals, then there is a little moment of joy and happiness. But how long does it last? How long before you're looking at the next goal, and then the next goal, and then the next goal? And as we live our life trying to constantly strive to achieve these goals, one after the other, how tiring and exhausting does it get? Is this you? There is a radically different way to live your life, which is a life based on values, a values-focused life. It's like two kids in the back of a car, and it's a 3-hour car journey to Disneyland. And the first kid is totally goal-focused. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? How much longer? Are we there yet? This journey of frustration, it's all about the goal. The second kid is values-focused. He's got the same goal. He wants to get to Disneyland, but he's also in touch with his values around curiosity, adventure, having fun. So he's looking out of the window, playing I Spy with My Little Eye. He's counting all the, the interesting farmhouses that he sees on the way. He's spotting interesting farm animals, cows and sheep. He's noticing different types of trucks and cars on the freeway. So he's actually appreciating the journey as he heads towards his goal. Now, they both reach Disneyland at the same time. They both have a fantastic time at Disneyland because they both got to achieve the goal. But the first kid had a journey of frustration. The second kid had a fulfilling, rewarding journey. So this is the very important distinction between the values-focused life and the goal-focused life. In the values-focused life, we have the fulfillment and satisfaction of living our values every step of the way towards our goals, the satisfaction of achieving our goals, and the fulfillment that comes of living our values even when we don't achieve our goals.